This is the most anticipated Knicks season this century. The Melo teams were good, some others had their moments, but in terms of expectations, the idea that the New York Knicks could be real contenders to represent the Eastern Conference in the 2025 NBA Finals, this is as good as it gets. They spent years making smart move after smart move, seeing the value in Jalen Brunson when so many people were wrong about that contract, including me, trading for Josh Hart, signing Donte DiVinzenzo, trading for OG Anunoby, and then truly signifying their championship intentions this offseason by making the big move, trading for Mikal Bridges. The Knicks have created this unbelievably interesting modern version of an NBA team with shooting, size, skill all over the place. And with one of the best offensive players in the league in Jalen Brunson leading the whole thing. But they are not perfect. The Knicks have a few main issues that they have to address if they really want to compete with the Celtics and others in the Eastern Conference this year, and we're getting some news as to how they plan to do that. Before we get to that, I want to let you know that today's video is sponsored by Rocket Money, but more on them later. The first problem for the Knicks, of course, is the center position, in that they just don't really have one. As cool as all their depth and their wings are, when you list 6 or 7 of their best players, none of them play the 5 spot full time, which is the problem in an increasingly size-driven league, and when the Celtics and Sixers, among others, have a ton of size at that spot when fully healthy. Now, of course, this wasn't a problem for them last year, but the reason they have this issue now is because they lost Isaiah Hartenstein in the offseason. And I'm not sure people truly realize just how important he was for them last season. With Mitchell Robinson injured for the 100th time, Hartenstein stepped in and was not only one of the best rebounders in the league, but he played defense, provided a toughness and physicality that was perfect for that team, and was a surprisingly good relief valve offensively as a passer and finisher in those Jalen Brunson pick and rolls. The Knicks didn't want to lose Hartenstein. They offered as much as they could, but that OKC offer was just too good to pass up. Some unfortunate salary cap rules prevented the Knicks from offering him more money, and it makes sense that he left, which now leaves that 5 spot occupied by the previously mentioned Mitchell Robinson, along with some other interesting lineups that I'm going to get to later. The problem is, of course, Mitchell Robinson is already hurt. He had an ankle injury in December and briefly returned for the Knicks in the playoffs before re-injuring himself, and now the team is expected to be without him with an already paper-thin center rotation for the first few months of the season. This is one of the main reasons why, if they could have chosen to retain Hartenstein in place of losing Mitchell Robinson, they certainly would have this offseason, but that wasn't an option, and now this is where they are. Which means that, for now, the Knicks do not have a starting caliber center on the roster. Robinson, if he can get healthy, will be very useful in certain matchups for the Knicks in the playoffs due to his incredible rim protection, but even before this injury update, they were going to have to address this problem. Speaking of problems, I had one myself. Until recently, I had no idea how much money I was spending on monthly subscriptions until the sponsor of today's video, Rocket Money, helped me out. Rocket Money is the personal finance app that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower bills, and manage your money better. And the most annoying part for me personally was having to take time out of my day to go and cancel all those subscriptions, to be on the phone with customer service trying to cancel all this stuff. But with Rocket Money, you can cancel all of these subscriptions right from within the app with just a few taps, which has helped save its customers up to $740 a year when you use all of the app's features, with over $500 million saved in canceled subscriptions. This has been a huge problem for me and a lot of other people, which is exactly why I wanted to partner with Rocket Money to save you guys some money. Right now, you can go to rocketmoney.com/sportinglogically or click the link in the description to get started for free, and you can unlock even more features with premium as well. If you want to make sure you're keeping your monthly spending on your subscriptions down like I did, make sure you guys check out Rocket Money, and thank you again to Rocket Money for sponsoring this video. Back to the Knicks. Now, they do have an issue at the center spot, but there are some creative ways they can try and solve it. Which brings us to the other problem the Knicks have right now. What are they going to do with Julius Randle? Randle is extremely talented, so this isn't necessarily a problem, and there have actually been some positive reports around his situation recently, which we'll get to later, but they do at least need a plan for how exactly he's going to fit into this team. As great as the season was for the Knicks last year, especially after they traded for Anunoby midseason, in the playoffs at least, the Knicks have no idea how Randle fits into this version of their team, and now with Mikal Bridges there as well. We all know that wing depth and versatility is the name of the game in the NBA these days, having as much skilled size as you can, and a combination of Hart, DiVincenzo, Anunoby, Bridges, and Randle is fantastic. But it's going to take some time to figure out what combinations work best. Bridges, although he struggled with his efficiency in Brooklyn last year, is capable of being the second offensive creator alongside Brunson. Anunoby wanted out in Toronto partially because he wanted to go somewhere where he had more offensive opportunities, and Randle has had all NBA caliber seasons as the number 1 or number 2 option for the Knicks. So how exactly are they going to keep everybody happy here? Yes, they're counting on the good vibes of the Villanova connection here, but Anunoby and Randle are on the outside looking in of that situation. Some people have floated the idea of a Randle trade, which we can talk about in a second, but first, what if the Knicks solved their center problem and their Randle problem at the same time? Why not just play Julius Randle at the 5? Obviously, this would not be a full-time thing, as Randle doesn't have the size to hold up defensively against most matchups, but it would certainly supercharge their offense. A lineup of Brunson with 3 of the wings plus Randle at the 5 would be almost impossible to guard with Randle's bully ball style and switches and his solid passing skills, and as long as they could rebound on the other end, it could be effective in short spurts. The problem is head coach Tom Thibodeau has never really wanted to play smaller lineups and has always been hesitant to play Randle specifically at the 5. But recently, he's actually admitted that he likes the idea with this Knicks team specifically. The reason for that is Anunoby, who not only rebounds well for his position, but can also guard bigger players really well, allows Randle to play at the 5 on offense, but the 4, his natural position, on defense. And right now, I truly believe a Randle at the 5 lineup could be an awesome tool for the Knicks to have at their disposal. But what if none of this works? What if they can't find anybody to cover for them at the 5 while they wait for Robinson to come back, and the Randle at the 5 lineups are just too bad defensively to keep out there? Would the Knicks, at the trade deadline, consider moving Julius Randle for a center? It seems like a logical line of thinking given the roster and Randle's contract situation. With Brunson, Anunoby, Hart, and DiVincenzo all having gotten long-term deals in the past 2 years, and with Bridges due for a new deal soon as well, Randle has become the forgotten guy on the roster, and he has a player option to become a free agent in 2025. So if they need help at the 5, it makes sense that Randle could be available, but for who? The name that always comes up in this conversation is, of course, Karl-Anthony Towns. His name has been connected to the Knicks in trade rumors for years, as recently as this offseason, and the fit in New York is pretty solid as well. He can space the floor around Brunson and the wings, and although he isn't a great defender, he at least has the size to battle some of the bigger bodies around the league. And as an added bonus, he would fit in bigger lineups, playing alongside Mitchell Robinson once he's healthy as well, something that is sure to make Tibbs happy. For Minnesota, it's hard to see why this would make sense for them, given their playoff success last year without a complete disaster of a season from them, but maybe the Knicks could entice them with other assets to make a deal work, or a 3-team trade. Outside of Cat, there aren't a lot of great center options available for the Knicks, whether it be in free agency or via trade, unless some kind of 3-team deal involving someone like Clint Capella gets you really excited. And honestly, I don't really see a Randle trade happening right now, barring some crazy circumstances mid-season. As much as it seems like it might make sense for the roster, Randle has said himself publicly that he is ready for whatever role he needs to play with this new look roster, which is good to hear. And that, combined with Tibbs' comments about him playing at the 5, makes me think the organization already has a plan to solve both of these problems. But these are certainly concerns, and when the stakes are this high, when the expectations are through the roof, in New York of all places, weird circumstances can happen. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to sort itself out for the Knicks this year, but I, for one, cannot wait to find out.